What's up, guys? Welcome to the Stats Free Sports channel. Let's get right into it. Here today to answer an NFL mailbag question on Miles Sanders. The question is, should the Carolina Panthers target the running back? And let's get right into it. So, if you saw my video yesterday on David Montgomery prediction video, I think he's going to the Bengals. I think Joe Mixon will be cut. And this prior to the mess going on with his name about the kid stuff, about shooting the kid, whatever. If he didn't do it, whatever. But this was my thinking prior to that even happening. I thought Mixon could be cut. I think he will be. I think they're gonna go after another running back. I think the Cincinnati native David Montgomery will be a great fit for that Bengals offense. But in that video, I mentioned Miles Sanders prediction video coming soon, and I said the Dolphins. Well, I take it back. I'm not quite ready yet. I'm still trying to figure out and try to pinpoint where I think Miles Sanders will go. It's tough. It's all a guessing game. I get some right, I get some wrong, but you gotta guess. You gotta look at all the options and weigh everything out. So I'm not quite ready yet for a prediction video on Miles Sanders. But this question came to me last night, and I do want to talk about it because the question when they asked me the question, they kind of they're a follower of mine, so they know what I'm gonna say. They know how I think, so they were telling me, if you watch any of my prediction videos, I always say past connections, right? And the past connection with Miles Sanders and the Panthers, there's kind of two. They have the former running backs coach for the Eagles, Duce Staley, also former running back for the Eagles a long time ago when I was a kid. He's now on the Panthers roster. He was a running back coach for the Eagles back for Miles Sanders' first 2 years, 2019, 2020, when Miles Sanders had two pretty good years. Then you go to Frank Reich, the Panthers head coach. Even though he never coached Miles Sanders, he did. He has an affiliation with him because the Eagles coach now, Nick Sirianni, was under Frank Reich, and then now he's coach Sanders for the last couple of years. So that's kind of a indirect past connection. So um, he had two connections to Carolina Panthers. They need a running back. They've been clearing up space by cutting a couple guys here and there. So they definitely need a new running back. Now, I do like Deontay Foreman, but he could definitely go. I think for some reason he hasn't stuck yet. He's been with a couple teams now, the Texans, the Titans, a couple other teams here and there, and he's been playing pretty well. I loved him behind Derrick Henry playing with the Titans a couple years ago. Didn't stay long term for some weird reason. Now went to the Panthers, had a pretty good year last year. I think he could be going again. We will see. But they do have Chuba Hubbard still, or Chuba Hubbard. I don't know how to say it exactly. But running back from Oklahoma State a couple years ago, had a pretty good year last year, showed some but I don't think he's gonna be a workhorse, a bell cow back. They're gonna go a duo or a trio, and I think Miles Sanders would be a great fit. As the person told me in the question that they asked me, that they asked me, Duce Staley, running back coach, your running back that had great play during your years there is now available. Why not? A projected contract I've been seeing floating around, or at least value for Miles Sanders, maybe a 2-year deal for about 14 million, 15 million. So 7 million change per year, not bad. They'll make him about, I think, 10th or 11th highest paid running back. So that's not bad at all. The running back market is very tough. It's very tough to gauge, very tough to find a value. With so many good running backs coming in, you can find some later on the draft. Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs was drafted late, and list goes on of how many guys are drafted late in our pretty good backs that are making good contributions to winning teams. So just depends on how a team will value Miles Sanders, who, kind of since 2021, 2022 seasons hasn't really played great. He's had good moments, but hasn't really played great. So, but like I said earlier, when Duce Staley was there, 2019, 20, I think those years are correct. Those 2 years when Duce was there. Let me do a little quick note check real quick before I do it. Yeah, 2019, 2020. When Duce was there, Miles Sanders was very explosive, very quick, very agile. And those haven't. I don't think they left him, but it's not quite looking the same as it was. I don't know if it's the scheme. or what. But he hasn't looked great at all times. He looked pretty decent on a on total scale in totality, but he's had great moments, very good moments. You can really be like, wow, he looks the part during those great moments. So, but if not the Panthers, I am a Falcons fan, so you know, I keep doing videos on the Saints and the Bucks and the Panthers. So, I hope he don't go to the NFC South. I don't want too much competition. We already got Derek Carr coming now. I'm good. So if he don't go to the Panthers, which I think it's a possibility, the Dolphins, as I said in my prior video with David Montgomery, the Dolphins to me make sense. It just depends on Mike McDaniel. Now, Mike McDaniel coming from the Kyle Shanahan tree, and if you know his tree, they go with cheap running backs. Raheem Mostert last year. They traded for Jeff Wilson Jr. last season also. They will find veteran cheap running backs or young cheap running backs to fit the system, to fit the scheme. So that's why a lot of people were kind of shocked at Kyle Shanahan and the Niners trading for Christian McCaffrey from the Panthers, because they normally stick with the younger, cheaper, or veteran, cheaper guys. The cheap option. Mike Daniels could fall in that same system as well, that same way of thinking. So I'm not quite sure. $7 million per year on a winning team like the Dolphins is not a lot, but that could definitely be used somewhere else to sign. Maybe it's sign and trade, not sign and trade, but the trade for that cap could be try. I can't even talk. Excuse me. That cap could be used to trade for a guy like Ramsey. That cap space could be used to sign a guy like Devontae David in free agency, the linebacker, Jordan Poyer from the Bills. The list goes on of who they could get to fill in gaps on their defense or the O line or wherever else that they deem fit. New tight end, Mike Gesicki is a tight end. Maybe trade for Darrell Waller. So the cap space could be needed elsewhere, and paying that much for maybe 7 mil, 8 million for Miles Sanders might not cut it for that team, honestly. So, we'll see where it goes. Like I say, if not the Dolphins, if not the Panthers, I like the Broncos. There's been some rumors going on about Javonte Williams' knee, about how it's healing. So I'm not quite sure if he'll be ready by week one. They did let go of Melvin Gordon this past season. So, I would like Javonte Williams, and a pairing with Miles Sanders, excuse me, will be pretty solid. Sean Payton's always had a rotation of good running backs, and this would be in that same vein. So I wouldn't mind seeing it at all, honestly. Miles Sanders, Javonte Williams, once he gets back healthy, they'll be pretty solid. And also the Eagles. The Eagles could be a good option as well. They reports came out and said Gainwell will be the starter in 2023. I don't know. I don't know. I like Boston Scott. I like Gainwell. I like Sanders. I like all of them. They all give you something a little different. But Gainwell from Memphis a couple years ago was pretty solid, and he does seem more bouncy, more agile, like a young Sanders used to. So yeah, that's definitely possible there with the Eagles, and also the Buffalo Bills. Singletary is a free agent. They only have Hines and Cook right now, so we'll see where that goes. But they could go in the draft, could be John Robinson. They could get Jahmyr Gibbs. They could get another veteran, Damon Harris, a good power back, former Patriot. So we'll see where they go there. But Miles Sanders is definitely an option. But they need to focus on the O line first instead of worry about a running back, because they do have good running backs. I think Cook is pretty solid. He can be good, and I think Hines, a good receiving back, will give you a good passing back out the backfield. So the list definitely grows for a guy like Miles Sanders. Just depends on what he wants, the money he wants, the team fit. And as I said earlier, a bunch of teams should be able to use him. Just the thing of how much he'll cost, and that $7 million per year for 2-3 years is kind of tough. That's tough for some teams to swallow, to pay that much for a running back. They could get 2 or 3 running backs for the same price. Depends on the team that you're asking about or you're talking about. So, Miles Sanders to the Panthers to me makes sense. Just depends on what they want to do with Deontay Foreman, and will they bring him back, keep the duo last year of him and Hubbard, or will Frank Wright and Duce Staley want to go with somebody more familiar, someone uh, you know they can just they know a little bit more, and that's Miles Sanders. So, but that's it for video, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.